Alright, here's what I'd like to get into is my paranormal experiences. It's pretty weird. I don't expect anybody to believe anything I say, but it's definitely my truth, you know. It's not the most outrageous thing, but it's not nothing either, you know. So I'll go through what my paranormal experiences are. When I was a little kid, I always remember, not always remember, but I have engraved in my skull one of my bedrooms when I was a little kid. I probably had about 3 or 4 different bedrooms between, because I had divorced parents, so I've had different bedrooms or whatever. But one of my bedrooms, I have a image ingrained into my skull of gray aliens, I guess you could say, or grays, looking at me through my window, through my bedroom window, just staring at me. And it's it's engraved in my skull. It's creepy as all hell. That's always been in my mind. I've always thought about that whenever I see abduction stories and this and that. I don't know if I was abducted. I get the feeling that I may have been, but I have no proof of that, so I can't say I was or I wasn't. I can't just go off of a feeling. I don't have any memories of ever being taken anywhere or anything like that, so I don't really believe I was abducted. But then when you hear about the nightmares that I've had, it might be a little bit telling to some people. If I could get clarification, that would be pretty awesome. If somebody knows more about this, that would be a big help to me, because I've never really gotten any clarification on this. Never really needed it, but it would be cool to have it. I remember also when I was a child, one of the bedrooms I had when I was a younger child, I remember laying in my bed, and it was right next to the bedroom window, but I couldn't see outside the bedroom window because it was kind of underneath of the window. But I remember laying in that bed and seeing outside. We had about an acre of a backyard, maybe 1.5 acres, 2 acres, something like that. It wasn't that big, but it wasn't that small either. I remember seeing from outside a very, 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 very bright white light outside my window. It was pretty, I guess, terrifying because of how bright the light was. There was nothing in our backyard that could have been giving off that bright of a light, so it was something of an outside source that was that light. And I don't know, it was just creepy. I think I remember it being in the middle of the night, but that was only one occurrence. That's as far as ET and paranormal goes. Until recently, that was the most of the ET and paranormal experience that I had. But what I guess one of my main issues or my main problems was when I was a kid was I would have these waking nightmares. Basically by that I mean I would be in a nightmare and I would wake up. I would wake up whilst in this nightmare but not fully wake up. I would wake up and be able to walk around and talk and interact with the real world, but I was still in the nightmare. Visually, the nightmare was still, it was almost like an overlay. The nightmare was almost like an overlay onto reality, but like I'm saying, these were nightmares. I remember one specifically where I woke up from the nightmare and ran out and was hugging my mother, and as I'm hugging my mother, this was my experience, like inside my head. It's not like she was seeing this, it was a nightmare to me, you know. But as I was hugging my mother, I didn't want to let go of her. I wanted to be as close to her as I possibly could. When I was hugging her, it felt right, or it felt good. When I was hugging her, I remember the feeling of literally being pulled and stretched away from my mother. But the weirdest part about it was I felt like I was being stretched and pulled, and my arms were being stretched literally like 20 to 30 feet, because it was outrageous, but it was like a nightmare. But the weirdest part about it was my heart that was touching her, that was hugging her and holding on to her, my heart stuck and my heart stretched completely out of my chest. So that was one of the weirdest experiences, because I remember it very vividly. And I remember my mom like bawling, crying, like not understanding what was wrong, not like wanting to do something for me, but not being able to understand what was going on with me. And then I also remember having these recurring waking nightmares where I would wake up, and this would be in my father's house, but I would wake up and literally as I would walk through my house, I would be walking into a tunnel. I would be in a in a tunnel. I'm not talking about like a tunnel that you would see in one of the deep underground military bases or anything like that. I'm talking about a tunnel that a rabbit or a snake or something would dig itself. I was in that type of tunnel, just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, just compacting me, and it was terrifying to say the least. But I remember in almost all of those dreams, if I would come out of my bedroom and look up into my father's bedroom or look up to my father's bedroom door, it would be the most bright light I had ever seen, like as far as in a dream, like a very almost like that his door was the entrance to heaven. That's the way I could attribute that, or that's the way I could describe that, is that I would look up in my dad's room. You could basically see his door. He had a balcony that looked over the living room, and you could see his bedroom door from there. So when I came out my bedroom, it came right out into the living room, and there I would look up and see an extremely bright light coming from my dad's room. I don't know what that is. If you knew my dad, you might understand, or it might make a little sense to you. My dad, a lot of people say my dad is special, or my dad has a lot of light coming from him, a lot of spiritual light coming from him that radiates off of him. So that kind of makes sense. But that was my those are my experiences. And then my last experience is a UFO that I saw in January of this year, and that was my first video that I took and put up this year. So actually it's called UFO over Delaware is the name of the video, if you ever want to check it out. It's pretty cool. But one thing I want to talk about is that UFO I saw up in the sky. It was slowly moving around. I can't really be for sure that it wasn't a star, but I do remember it was flashing green and red lights, white, green, and red lights. It was really crazy. It was almost the effect like from Skyline, where you look at it and you don't want to look away. It was a really, really weird feeling that I got, but it wasn't a scared feeling or a scary feeling that I felt was projecting off of the UFO. But if you watch my video, I definitely got scared as soon as the thing started to actually maybe try and communicate with me. I don't know if it was communicating with me, what it was actually doing, but it started to flash and started to blink a little bit and looked like it might have been like moving, like flipping upside down or something like that, or like trying to face more of its lights towards me. I don't know what it was, but as soon as it started doing something, you can hear in the video, I start to freak out and basically start to walk away from it, you know. And a video that I was watching by the Truther Girls, she was talking about fear, and don't have fear, have no fear whatsoever. And also listening to Roxy Lopez's show, there's a guy on there was saying you can't have fear. You don't want to have fear. If you're having any kind of experience with the UFO, if you feel that you're ready for knowledge, you feel that you're ready for information, don't have fear. Let that know. Broadcast that out from yourself, that you have a desire to know, a willingness to know, wanting to know. I think what happens is a lot of times people see a UFO and all of a sudden they do a little self-projection or a little future projection for themselves for the next couple minutes of what's going to happen when they see this UFO, and they say, okay, well, if this thing gets closer, I'm going to freak out. Oh my God, I'm going to freak out. Like, if this thing gets any closer to me, or this thing starts looking like it's trying to communicate with me, I'm going to freak out. That's just scary. Well, if you haven't seen a UFO before, or if you've never looked into anything with UFOs, that might be understandable. But if you have looked into UFO things before, try not to do that. If you see a UFO or what you think could be a UFO, try not to have that freak out thought in your head that, oh, if this thing comes closer, I'm going to freak out. Try to have the thought that this thing comes closer, this could be a very good experience for me. This could be an experience for me to grow, to evolve, you know, and maybe they'll pick up on that instead of the fear, because what a lot of people, I think, do is subconsciously in their mind, they say, well, if these things come to me and they come directly to me, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to put my dukes up and I'm going to fight these things, you know? And I don't think that's the right mindset to have, because they're not going to want to come down and fight you. One, you're not going to win a fight against them anyway. I don't think with their technology and their ability to speak to us in our mind and shit, I don't think you're going to fucking have that much of a chance fighting them anyway. So why not just put a smile on, say, I would love to meet you, or think in your head that, well, if they came down, not, oh, I'm going to beat them up, or it's on, and we're going to start fighting, I got to defend myself. Think, well, if they came down, I would love to experience them. I would love to talk with them. I would love to find out what they're willing to tell me about the universe and about life and who we really are, you know? Because, hate to break it to you folks, we haven't been told who we really are. We've been told that we're these physical bodies and machines, and there's not really much more to us than that. Well, I can promise you there's a lot more to us than just these physical bodies, these machines. I want to leave you on one last note here. I know this is a long video, but hopefully I'll chop it up and make it a little bit more condensed for you. But one of the last things I wanted to touch on is fear and love. I think about this a lot. I think about this daily, but I don't speak about it ever on YouTube, so I'm going to right now. You are not fear. You are love. Love that needs no protection. Love that cannot be lost. That is very true. You are not fear. You are love. When it comes down to it, you are love. Your energy, your soul is what you would call love, the highest form. So, have no fear, because that's not what you are. If you were fear, then we would constantly live in fear. We wouldn't be able to escape fear. But people escape fear every day. All you have to do is face your fear and you escape it. That's what people say. But why not eliminate fear? The only thing to fear is fear itself. I find that to be a 100% correct statement. There's nothing to fear. Do not even fear death. For when you die, you don't die. You change form. All we are now is condensed matter. Alright? Condensed energy. Our energy is condensed into this shell, I guess you could call it. When we die, it's kind of like a hermit crab finding a new shell. Our vibration goes higher. Our energy, our pure soul, our energy goes to a higher vibration, and we move on to whatever it is we want to do, whatever it is our soul truly wants to do, whether it is come back, whether it is go see friends and family. So I think a lot of people think, well, if your soul moves on, then that means everything that has to do with your body just goes by the wayside or gets left here. There's no point. I don't believe that. I believe it all just layers on top of each other. I believe there's probably 1,000 layers to each of us, and right now we're just on the top layer. When we die, we can see all those layers. And as layers, I'm sure the first layer, first, second, third layer, for all of us, may not even be that important. May still be important, I don't know. I'm just getting into semantics here and what I believe. But you are not fear. You are love. Okay? Have no fear. There's no need to fear. Fear will only bring you what you fear. If you fear something, that will only come to you, for you're telling yourself that you have a challenge that you must overcome. So, I don't know. Leave you with this quote today. Condemnation without investigation is the highest form of ignorance. And that's by Mr. David Icke. That's something he has said. Just want everybody to think about that. Think about it. Till we meet again, my friends, bless you all. You are not fear, you are love.